I'm Tania Rogers, and you're listening to Mindful Hustler, the podcast helping entrepreneurs get out of their heads and on to building their dreams. Together, we're building businesses while balancing minds. Let's dive in. Today, I'm sitting down with my dear friend and mentor, Nashima Harvey, who is an amazing educator, speaker, entrepreneur, and the founder of The Little Greenhouse, an educational consultancy reshaping how we approach learning through mindset, creativity, and inclusive support. Nashima and I talk all about her journey from classroom to CEO, the gaps she saw in education that led her to take action, and the beautiful story behind Girls of Decision, her youth empowerment program teaching girls how to lead, decide, and thrive within their own community. If you've ever felt called to pour into young minds or create your own path as an educator or founder, this episode is for you.
Hey,
By the way, everything in my being wants to call you Miss Harvey because that is what I'm so used to.
so
That's how I met you.
listen, everyone calls I don't care who it is. It could be a parent, a grandparent of a child, regardless. I'll say, "Please just call me Nashima." "No, Miss Harvey, Miss Harvey." They call me Miss Harvey all the time. That's people just call me Miss Harvey. They don't call me by my first name. I don't know. I would prefer, but everyone calls me Miss Harvey
Yeah.
everywhere I go. Everywhere I go.
That's how I met you as really a teenager in college. You
Mhm.
were one of my earliest mentors, and just a little background story, a really close friend of mine. We were really wanting to be more involved in the community around us where our college was, Rutgers in Newark, and we started looking at all the different charter schools around the area, and we literally just picked one that was like right across the street, walked in, and we said, "Hey, we want to volunteer. We want to, create different things for the kids." And at first, I remember it was met with a lot of skepticism by the principal, but then eventually they said, "Okay." They threw us in a classroom and they were like, "Here, Miss Harvey, what can you do with them?" And you really planted so many seeds for us. You were really just, and still are, just such a foundation of a powerful woman who leads, who teaches, who's so creative, and I'm so happy that we're connected today. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a pleasure. I do remember that day very fondly, and I remember thinking, "Wow, they just walked in and just wanted to volunteer? These little girls? Sure, and of course." And they knew that I was always open. My door was always open to anybody who wanted to make a difference in the lives of children. And so when you guys came in, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna put them to work. I'm gonna make sure they were a part of the solution." And you guys jumped right on in, and you did. And you had a whole bunch of little questions from the little boys in the room too. It was
My goodness. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I just remember that feeling of, you don't have to have all the answers. We had no idea what we were doing, but when you act in alignment with what your soul is telling you to do, people show up and people meet you on that same frequency that you're on. And so we just showed up and you showed up for us, and it created such a beautiful experience. I'm still connected with one or two actual students from that classroom. Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow, wow,
especially because
wow.
of social media. Yeah, it's so funny.
You
I
gotta
mean,
tell
how
me
many years
offline who they
later?
are.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny. It's like what, like, uh, over 15 years ago. Well
Yes,
over
yes,
15.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
So
absolutely.
I want to start from the very beginning. So what sparked your journey into education, and what was the moment it was more than a job for you?
I'm gonna be really honest with you. This is something that a lot of people don't seem to understand, but for me, and I feel like you asked me this question as a kid before as well, and Imma tell you the same thing, which is I really started about somewhere between 3 and 5 when I knew, like, the universal download came into me, and I started telling everyone who would listen, "I am here to help children. I'm here to help children," and I used the big word, "I'm gonna be a children's advocate lawyer." And I don't know if I knew what that was, but that's what I was saying all the time. And when I think about it, I'm like, I don't know, did I know what that was? But I was saying it. I knew it meant help children. And that was my story my entire life, even up until high school where I went to school. I was in high school, but taking college classes in law. And then somewhere in between, in the middle, my mother worked at a law firm and they all told me, no, you don't want to be a lawyer. Find something else to do. And I stumbled upon, when I became older and I had children, I stumbled upon a school with kids who had learning disabilities and behavioral issues. And I spoke to the principal, and he said, you know what? I think you'd make a great mentee, because he was a psychologist and I was now in grad school to be a psychologist. And I was really just supposed to be a mentee, because I wanted to work with kids. And I ended up realizing that this was more hands on and this was better for me to really work with kids. And this was it. This is the calling that I was not really understanding, but I knew I had to be here. I've known it all my life. My entire journey has been children and supporting children, and so that's when I knew that once I started working at that school, I knew it was a click, like, you're going to work here. It's meant for you. And then everything I ever experienced in my life before then started to make sense to me. It didn't always make sense. I just knew I was on the right, road, and that was helping children in need. It was very specific. And so once I got there was a whole bunch of kids who were in need, and I was guiding that charge. And it was like, oh my God, I'm guiding this charge. Like, I'm the leader of this. Oh, wow. Like, you don't realize how important that is until you really think about that you are molding the minds of the future, right? And if I do a great job, then we'll have a great future. But if I don't, what is going to happen to me? Because I'm going to be old and won't, you know what I mean? And there's going to be a point in time when I'm going to need those kids to take care of me.
Mhm.
So I started looking at the world like that. And it was important for me to then be the best version of self that I could be at that moment and every moment. And each moment is different. So that was really the aha moment. This is my thing. This is it. This is the child advocate lawyer. I studied law. I didn't become a lawyer, but I studied law and I understood the law of children, how to support them academically. And today I work with parents on understanding the law for their children. So it was a full circle moment. All comes back around.
Yeah, I think what you said specifically about leadership is really interesting because I think it's so easy to diminish the importance of what you're doing in the world. And that could be out of fear of like visibility, fear of leadership, or whatever it is, really just getting in the habit of shrinking yourself. But when you actually stand in the leadership role and you realize your impact, you really assume the role and you do it well. And that's what it sounds like it was for you. You really knew the impact that you had on young minds, and you don't take that lightly.
Not at all. You went from, as a teacher, you're teaching, okay, I'm going to teach you how to tie your shoes. Not why you should tie your shoes. I'm just going to teach you how to tie your shoes. I went from being a teacher to an educator. And I'm going to not only teach you how to tie your shoes, but I'm going to educate you on why it's important to have your shoelaces tied. I went from a
Yes.
teacher to an educator, and that
Yes.
was the pivotal moment where, yeah, I'm going to be in this classroom, but I'm going to take it like to the moon and back, and then some. You know.
Yes. Yes. So, what was the seed that grew into the little greenhouse, and why the name? I love the name.
Well, I was always a thinker. I have a friend who I'm 50. I'm not ashamed to say that, but my friend I've had for 50 years, I would tell her this all the time. I always want to work with children and what I want to do. So she can attest to what I'm going to tell you. When I was very young, my parents put us in a private school, and it was called Junior Academy in Brooklyn. And the owners of the school were we call trailblazers themselves. They were the Bostics, Joseph Bostic and
Yeah.
Dorothy Bostic. And they apparently, besides owning a little daycare center called the Little Red House, they started the Junior Academy. And the Little Junior Academy was born out of the Little Red House. It was like a daycare center where the parents felt like their children were learning all this amazing stuff, and they wanted to keep it going, because to send their kids off to a regular public school, they're like, no, we need this to be a regular school. And they eventually turned it into a regular school, a private school called Junior Academy. Mr. Bostic, I believe, was the first public radio announcer in New York. I'm not sure if in the United States, but I definitely know in New York. And he also introduced Mahalia Jackson to the world. So he was really a mover and shaker. And he felt it was important, and so did his wife, that we as the students were movers and shakers. They did that in like the 1940s and the 1950s. And they were around until the 1990s. And so This was a great school, and anyone who went to that school, I felt to be amazing. Every time I meet someone from there, I already know they're amazing. You don't have to tell me anything, I already know. So, with that being said, when I read their autobiography or their biography about their life, and in reading it, I never knew about the Little Green House until I read it in their book. And when I read the book, The Little Red House, that's so cool. I want to start a school. I want to do this. I'm going to call it the Little Red House. And I'm like, no, that's them. I have to get a color that matches me. And I thought green because the little greenhouse, and greenhouses, what do? You plant seeds and you watch grow. So then I'm like, that works because their school did plant seeds and that's how they became Junior Academy. And for me, I literally, when I give information, when I share, when I give of myself and share that energy, that empowerment, I like to empower, drop those seeds into people. That's what was happening. So I felt like I had my own kind of greenhouse that was being created mentally, energetic wise, and when you come in, understand seeds are being dropped, seeds of knowledge, the seeds of empowerment, universal laws, all of that's happening in this little greenhouse for parents and for children.
Yeah, I love that, and it's so important for just, role models for younger generation to embody that. I think that sometimes the traditional school system really lacks that. So what is it about, the traditional school system that you feel is missing and that you have in the little greenhouse?
Well, that's a loaded question because it's easy for me to say, well, the teachers need to do this and the principal needs to do that. No, well, I work within a lot of states and with a lot of schools for a long time with my educational service business. And the answer is not just that. It's not, I can't blame a teacher and I can't blame a principal, but I can
Yeah.
say that the system itself is broken. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't designed to really support and nurture the learning of little people
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
adults. Because I also have an adult school. So it doesn't nurture those things. And Little Green House said, okay, listen, principals, teachers, administrators, you don't understand how the laws of your school, the laws of special education, which is my background. Let me help you. Let me train your teachers and show them what they need to know. Let me train your administrators and show them how to address this and what the law says. Because
Mhm.
right now, what they're worried about is like, "Oh, okay, well, we have quotas, right? The system says we have quotas and we have to meet these quotas or we're going to shut down. So what am I going to do?
Yeah.
If you want a school, I got to meet these quotas." It's like a double-edged sword. And so
Right.
the kids are losing out because they're not really getting nurtured the way they need to because these quotas need to be met and the teachers, their hands are tied. So what do? They fall victim to the circumstances. So, what really needs to change is the system. But until the system changes, the Little Greenhouse Educational Services is in play to support the schools where they need it as best we can within that system, that broken system, and to support the parents. So, if there's something going wrong, we have that parent engagement where we can say, hey, this law says, especially in special education, which is what I'm speaking on right now, this law says that your child has a right to this service.
Right.
If you don't know that, you can never ask it. You can
Yeah.
never request it. So I put you in the know as a teacher, letting you know, listen, you have to be in compliance. This is still the law. That is part of the system that you should know because if you're not following that, then you're going to cause a problem for that system that you work in. So it's just
Mhm.
making people be in the know. The little greenhouse helps people to be in the know on the parent side, on the administrator side, on the teacher side. If we're all in the know and we all know the rules of engagement, then we'll have better access to the information. And that's
Yes.
education right there. That's
Yes,
education.
yes, absolutely. So how does creativity play a role in your approach to education and special education?
This program is creativity. The outfit, the hair, everything we have going on in our background, that all took creativity to come about. So creativity is life. Everything we have in this life started with an idea, a thought, a creation. And so creativity is life, it's the way of life. And I just highlight that and let people know, you have to tap into that inner self. So if you like something, what's your skill set? Like I started a beta summer program called Summer Success Academy for children who have, like, special needs or, learning
Mhm.
disabilities. And One of the young girls, she I realized really quickly that she excels when she's drawing whatever the answer
Mm,
is. Does she know the answer? She's autistic. Does she know the answer? Obviously, she knows the answer, but will she be able to convey that message to me?
mm,
And if I ask her 10,000 ways, I have 10,000 ways to be frustrated, right? Because she's not going to tell it to me. And it's like,
mhm,
oh my goodness, if you didn't understand that she has a different approach to learning.
mhm,
And that approach is let me draw it. I noticed her drawings like, wow, these are spectacular. It must be something with the drawing. So let me try this. Hey, draw a picture of what happened to so and so in the story. I got an
mm.
elaborate, beautiful picture. She was able to do that. You
Wow.
gotta be creative on the spot in special education. You have to
Yeah,
be open to that, be very creative, and allow, just allow for anything to happen. Don't be so rigid, and in my business, I can do that. Not necessarily all the time in a school, but in my
right.
business, I can. It allows you to breathe and address the information the best way you can.
Absolutely. And I look at therapy as the same way, actually. So now that I do private therapy versus working for different agencies, I notice that, in a session, sometimes people struggle to verbally express their feelings and even just to identify them and locate them in their body. And so having an array of different ways to do things really helps. So, like journal exercises or even like somatic movement, right? Like we need creativity and different forms of things to address how or to support how people express themselves and how they work. So I love that. Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of people think they're not creative. They're like, "Oh, I'm not creative. I don't build bridges and I don't design buildings and I don't do art." But did you get dressed this morning? Yeah, that's creativity. Putting that outfit together, well, you had to be creative. That was a feeling you felt. I want to wear this. Every little bit of everything you do, anything you do, is being creative, and that's the point a lot of people miss.
What were some of the biggest mindset shifts you had to make when you started to journey into entrepreneurship?
That education is business. It wasn't that much of a jump, but that education is business. It is. It is. It is. It is. And that therefore, like when I was on the teacher side of things before I became an educator, when I was on the teacher side of things, I just thought, okay, you go in, I'll teach this, I leave. I go in, I teach, I leave. When I became an educator, which equated to being more of the entrepreneur, I understood that I go in, I educate you on these things, but there's value to this. Not everyone has this value. And although I would just love to give it away to everybody, that would leave me in a space where I'm destitute. I have nothing, you know what I mean? So that shift of I'm no longer teaching, I am educating, which equates to entrepreneur, and I have to be able to eat as well. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to charge you for this one. I won't charge you what they're charging, but I'm gonna have to charge you. And it's an uncomfortable space to be in because for me, I was always just giving away, like, here, it's this, you should know this, you should know this. And I was watching people take what I said they should know and growing it and monetizing those things you
Mhm,
know? And I'm like, "Oh, wow, like, that's totally what I just told you." And it's no one's fault, it's my own fault because I had to understand that I didn't educate myself well, and therefore
mhm.
I was still teaching. I was not educating it myself. And so that shift was like, okay. And so then those old people will come to me and try to get that same information to keep their business going. Didn't work because now I'm educated on that. And therefore, we don't do free. We don't do free in that way. But what does happen, what does happen is you become elevated and you put whatever you put in, you're going to get back in return. So if you pour into me, and it's not always monetary, but if you
Mhm.
pour into me, you're gonna get double back in return. You reap what you sow.
Absolutely. So tell us about Girls of Decision and why it was so important for you to create a space just for girls.
Well, besides being female, no, but, I thought it was important because I was looking at this world. I was reading this book by Napoleon Hill. I totally forget the name at the moment, but it's a very popular book. I think a movie is coming out on this book, and I was reading this book, and it was talking about, money and attraction and how you attract certain things, and after
Think
reading the
and
book,
Grow
I'm like,
Rich?
the principles in here Think and Grow Rich, there you go. And it was a whole, like, mindset. That was like I read that book, I think, 7 times. So why would I forget the name of it? I don't know. But great book. Go out there and read it. But it made me think about my daughter and her future and her approach to money. I mean, I even had, like, I don't know, a download. I get downloads from the universe ever so often, and I had one during that book, and it kinda gave me the idea of Girls of Decision. I thought I heard it because I was listening to my Audible, and I thought I heard it talking about Girls of Decision, saying that girls need to make smart decisions and with money and so forth. And I'm like, "This would make a great program," is what I thought. And I said, "Oh, let me rewind that." But when I went to go rewind it, it wasn't there. I'm like, "Wait a second, maybe I'm missing it." I go to the book, it's not there either. And I'm like, it's a download, Let me write this down immediately because it was still fresh in my mind. And I came up with the idea from listening to that. And I go to my daughter, who was like, I think 6 or 7 at the time. I said, "Hey, Nia, want to start a business with mommy?" And she's like, "Sure." Not that she really knew. I said, "Well, it's going to be for girls and it's going to be like this. And we're going to help girls do things." She's like, "Okay." I explained it to her in a way for her to understand. She was down. We registered the business with New Jersey. But the real reason behind all of that was to say, I could teach my daughter everything I want, but what good is it if it's just her?
Mm.
She's going to be alone in this world knowing all this information. No, I think not. She needs some little warriors that are along with her. She can't be the only warrior, right? So, Girls of Decision was to create little warriors of knowledge, agents of change. I knew I couldn't be the only one. I won't be here forever. She can't be alone in this world by herself. She needs some partners where they can grow and build together, and that when they become young adults, they have a sisterhood where they can, like sorority per se, where they can reach out to each other because they have the same mindset. And Junior Academy, the Little Red House, was definitely in there because I learned those when they planted those seeds in me, that that's the
Mm.
way you become an agent of change. If you see that there's nothing out there what you want, you create it. You make the space. That's where creativity comes into play. And so, that's what I did. That's how it came about. And I love every minute of it. I love helping girls. And we're going to extend it to be teens, but it was young girls, but we're going to extend it because the young girls are now becoming teenagers. She was 6, 7. She's now 13, extending it outward so we can help them
13.
on their journey to. Yes, she's 13. 13, the big 1, 3.
Oh my gosh. I just want to say, first of all,
Absolutely.
I just love watching Nia grow. I really love your relationship with her. It is so special. It's so just inspiring. And when we first met, you weren't even pregnant with her yet. So I really got to see how you developed this beautiful, strong, intelligent, creative being. And I aspire to do that with my own girls. So I just want to just tell you how beautiful it is to watch.
Thank you so much, and you will. I like I told you, you were like at the time I told you, you were like this daughter that if I had a daughter, because I had 2 sons, if I had a daughter, she'd definitely be you. Like, if she'd be just like you, like, I'm feeling this. So, for sure, I see you passing that on to your daughters. You're very holistic. I love it, and you give off this amazing energy. And I remember Nia first meeting you. I don't know if you saw her when I brought her to the school as a baby, but I remember her first meeting you and being aware when she was about, I think, like 4 or so at your wellness conference. And I brought her with me because I wanted her.
Yes.
I was like, oh, wow,
Yes.
this is, yeah. She was so little that,
Yeah.
and she made, I think you guys did sugar scrubs or something like that there. And she definitely made it. She remembered that she made it. Like, oh, yeah. So, she's definitely about learning. And because I come from this perspective about enlightenment and being aware and self-aware, she's very that for 13. It doesn't necessarily always work well amongst her peers.
Mm.
And so she's living a double life in that way. But as she grows older, all of those tools will start to make sense. And she'll
Yes.
be able to put them together as part of her artillery. And so that's the goal. It's not just to be a teenager, but to be an adult. We got to get to being adult. It's hard out
Yes,
there.
yes. Yeah, and you're teaching all forms of health and physical health, financial, entrepreneurship, community partnerships, all those things to be an agent of change. How have you seen this impact in the girls that you've worked with?
Let me tell you, there's one young lady who I will not mention her name, but she'll know who she is when I say this. One young lady who stands out to me because with all the things I exposed them to, I had police officers come and talk to them. I had a big marketing executive come and talk to them about how to market themselves as individuals and also as business people. And then I had a person come in who trains children on being entrepreneurs. So she came in and she trained all the girls, telling them what they needed to do. And then she left. And I said, okay, well, I had her come in because we are all going to start our own business. You see me, I have many businesses and you will too. And this one young lady was all excited about it. And after the first session, she goes home, she comes back, and she comes back with her business plan binder. She was like 10 and she did a presentation, and she had a little sister with her. And they did this whole presentation about what their business was going to be. And it was for cleaning houses, right? How they would get paid. Like she legit followed everything that was told to her you know?
Mm.
And that touched my heart so oh my God, so bad it touched it because I was so happy for her that she got it and she was able to share it with her sister. And then her little sister and her were so excited about all the things they were doing. And when I would check in with the parents at home to say, hey, did they really follow through? And they're like, yeah, they really did. This is what they're doing. So they were already becoming leaders. They were already becoming literate financially. They were already becoming literate just holistic health. And so that made me feel so good. That was a standout story for me. A lot of things happened, but that one took me aback. I
Mhm.
didn't think she was going to catch on or anyone was going to catch on that quickly. And that told me that if you build it, they will come.
Mhm.
You build the
Mhm.
scenario for them to understand, they will rise. I don't care what age they are, they will rise. Because the little sister was like 6 or something, and she was like, yeah, this is our business. This is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it. You just have to plant the seeds and, you have to reap so you can get the reward. And that's what I was doing with Girls of Decision. That's what I am doing with Girls of Decision. That's what I do with life, even with the little greenhouse.
Yeah, it's funny. Oftentimes, you don't realize the impact that you have on people because it's sometimes not what you think or are intending to. It could just be something you say in passing or something someone sees you do, and it's so impactful to them. So, to your point, when you show up and you build it, they will come, they will get from it what they need. But until you do, you're not creating that space for people to actually take what they need. So I love that you just take action and you get the downloads and you follow what's in alignment for your soul because it's also in alignment for other people's souls.
Legacy is a strong thing. Well, I have a living legacy, and then I have after I leave legacies. A living legacy for me is really about being able to create systems in real time that are going to last a lifetime, right? That I'm able to teach one kind of thing, and be a part of others' journeys while I'm alive, right? Be a part of others' journeys and be a part of their story. Everybody has a chapter, right? I'm on chapter 50. But
Mhm,
what at what age do I enter your chapter? Like I've entered your chapter at a certain age. What were you,
mhm,
18, 17, 18?
mhm.
I
Yeah,
came
something
into
like
your
that.
chapter
Yeah,
then, and I've
yeah.
been there for quite some time, right? And it even though it doesn't mean that I was there every single day, lessons taught and learned and experiences are transcend through each chapter. So you're always holding on to those things that meant something to you. So it's important for me to continue to build and meet and have community with everyone around parents, educators, teachers, administrators, all types of people all the time because I want them to be, oh, Miss Harvey taught me that. I love it where the kids who back then who were with you, that I told them, you can't be a part of my social media. I think it was like MySpace and Facebook at the time. And I said, you can't be a part of my social media. But when you become 24, my name is Nashima Harvey, not
Mm,
Miss Harvey, because you won't find it that way. And if, in fact, you really want to be my friend, look for me then. We can't be friends because I just don't foresee that happening, but you can get to know me as an adult. And you
I
know what?
love that.
You know how many any children, well, they're not children anymore, but anybody who was a child then and they follow me on social media is because they remember what I said. They remembered my name and they found me. And it was
Uh,
crazy because when it started happening, I was just like, how did you find me? They're like, you told us. I even forgot I said it. You told us that this is what we needed to do, you know? I just wanted them to stop bothering me about it. So I said it, not realizing they held on to it. It made a difference. And here they are. Last year, the last one, no, it's not even the last one. Last year, a student reached out to me, somebody who I didn't even expect. And they found me on Instagram, my business page, the little greenhouse. And they
mhm.
were like, Miss Harvey, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm this person and you made such an impact in my life. You were my favorite teacher ever. And they gave me this whole dissertation, audio
Uh,
wise. They spoke into it. When I heard it, I started crying like, "Oh my god." You know, I didn't realize and their mother then had a message for me as well. And so
wow.
when I see that and you know, it's really a lot of the boys, all the boys have come back like, "Miss Harvey, I wanna tell you I did it. I became what I told you I was gonna become, or I did something even better. Miss
Uh,
Harvey." It's really like you have no idea how that touches me because something I just said just to leave me alone, like leave me alone. When you're 25 and I'm thinking you're not gonna remember me, but I became a part of your journey.
what advice would you give someone who wants to break into education or entrepreneurship or start a movement for youth but don't know where to start?
Real simple answer. And I think that some people will say this is not a simple answer, but it really is just as simple. You got to look within. You got to look within. That's where the answer is. There is no person, place, or thing that's going to get you there. Because if you understand the laws of attraction or universal laws, then you'll
Mhm.
understand how things work. People don't understand that. So therefore, it's always hit or miss. But if you want to hit a home run every time, and Imma tell you, my daughter hits home runs every single time since she was about 6 years old, since kindergarten.
Mm,
I taught her this little trick, and she hits home runs on whatever she truly wants, always comes
mhm,
to pass, and it's simply this, the recipe is if you can think it and then believe it, you know, if you can conceive it, you know, if you can conceive it,
mhm.
then you
Yep.
can achieve it. Basically saying that if you set out like, if you say like me, "Okay, I wanna help children. I'm gonna help children. I'm gonna help children," right? I thought I was gonna be a child advocate lawyer. I believed it in my whole every being. I would look at the new I'm gonna actually because of this, I am gonna go back and look for a newspaper article from the early '80s, maybe it might have been late '70s, early '80s, of a little girl who was on the cover who was abandoned in a park. Is really what catapulted me like, "I have to help this child." No
Mm,
one would help her. My parents were like, "No, no, no." But for me, I knew I had to help this person, and she is the picture I see every time I do it.
oh,
But I believed it with everything. So every time I encountered people, someone said, "Oh, you can do this," or if you're part of this program, it'll be closer to doing that. And that was constant. So because I believed it, I felt it, I saw it in my mind, I believed it in my heart, and then it was like the law of attraction. I started attracting people, places, and things that fit into that. So no, I didn't become a children's advocate lawyer because I had it all wrong. I didn't understand. I am a
mhm,
child advocate and I use the
mhm,
law to help with that. But I'm not a
mhm,
lawyer, although I was contemplating going to law school shortly,
mhm, mhm,
in the future. But
mhm,
that's what it is. Imagine something if it's you can say, "Well, I think about it all the time," but do you believe you're gonna be successful in that? Do you believe it's gonna
mhm.
happen? Because if you do, it literally will come to you. We're magnets. We're
Yeah,
magnets. Jump up and watch yourself jump
absolutely.
fall right back down to the ground. You're a magnet to the earth, right? We're all
Yep.
magnets. So if you're a magnet, you have to body whatever it is that you want. So if you want to be an educational
Mhm,
consultant, body it. And guess what's going to happen? Your energy is going to bring you straight to me, right? And you're going to then, now that you know, if you're watching this, the moment you body it, you will find me, we will align, and then I do have a mentorship program, so then I will mentor
mhm.
you on everything you need to know. I don't gatekeep.
Yes, yes.
That's it. Literally, you have to body it here holistically, and then the universe will respond to you. That's the law of attraction. you will start
Mhm.
to align,
Mhm.
and then all the things you need will happen. I'm telling you, that's it. I don't care what anyone else tells you. I can give you the names and places of a whole lot of things, but it doesn't mean there's gonna be a connection.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean
yeah.
that.
It's so true. It's like that's why I really believe in building the plane as you fly
Absolutely.
because you're not going to have all of the answers just figured out for you. You have to be able to feel it, like you said, trust it, believe it, and then show up as it so that the rest of the path unfolds. But you have to be comfortable with not being so sure about all of the different steps because some steps you're just not meant to know at that time.
That's it.
Maybe if you knew, maybe you wouldn't make the decision right away. So sometimes it's like you have to embody it and do it and be it and it'll come together.
This is true.
Absolutely.
All day long,
Yeah.
it's true. That is the only answer I have for you because that's the only, to me, legitimate answer because we all are part of this universe. We're part of the universe. What does that mean? The universe means one verse, one song, one verse, and we all make up the universe. So, in order for you to be aligned with that, you got to be aligned with what's going on internally. You are your own universe. And once you're aligned
Mhm.
with, what it is you want to do, you might say, I want to be an educator, but really want to be a race car driver, right? So, you can't
Mm.
talk out of both sides of your mouth. What is it you want to do? And it's not to say you can't do many things because I don't just do education. I have a whole nother business that's flourishing in other things. So you
Mhm.
can be all of those things. But in that moment, whatever it is you want to be it, believe it, and watch. It's going to come to you just like that. Just like that.
What's your favorite decision you've made lately?
Having nothing to do with education, my favorite decision I made was to get into fashion, to be honest with you. My husband and I,
I love
we
that.
partnered together. Was starting a vintage fashion line. And at first I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna stay in my lane over here. I'm just gonna stay in my lane. But every time, but in the back of my mind, I know these are things that I used to think about, but I'm like, well, I'm gonna just stay over here because this is where it's more impactful. But my leisure time like that stuff. And what ended up happening is when he was like, hey, let's partner together. And then we're doing fashion shows. He models. So I was going to fashion shows and people looking at me like, are you a designer? Do you do this? No, do you model? No, I don't. I do education. That's what I do. But did you see how the universe was trying to drop little gems on me the whole time? It knew what my secret
Mhm.
desires were. So it put it before me. And so finally, and this is a very recent decision as of this summer. And once I made that
Mm.
decision, how about we already have scheduled several fashion shows going on. We have a
Wow.
virtual store coming up at the end of this month. Everything just started falling in line. And it's been a really, like, I won't say a roller coaster because it's not all up and down. It's been truly upward.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
thought it.
That's amazing.
I thought it.
Yeah.
And it actually is coming to pass. And I'm actually able to mix the both with education and fashion because I can help. There's a lot of young people in that and helping them get their needs met. And I've
Mhm.
been mentoring them there too. So, I sprinkle Miss Harvey everywhere I go, put it that way.
That's the thing about being an educator. No matter what you do, that skill is so valuable. Being able to educate people and even wanting to educate people, it's just it's such a transferable skill. And I love that you are so in tune with yourself where you know how to express all aspects of yourself. I think a lot of people struggle with that sometimes because like you said, sometimes people feel like they have to be one thing and do one thing, but we're such complex beings. Like, if you can just be your authentic self in a way that feels good to you and not how other people tell you you should do it, then I think you've won. I think you've
Absolutely.
won.
And I
Yeah.
feel like having my downloads early, some people ignore those things. I think I was a middle child. So, I had middle child syndrome all day long. And with that being said, I would listen to self. Like, I'm like, oh, wow, I should do this. Okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. I really did listen. And as I listened and I saw results, I'm like, oh, I'm going to listen some more. And I kept getting great
Mhm.
results. And it's not to say life was great. It's just that I was able to maneuver through difficult situations and not get
Mhm.
burnt so bad. Like, I did get burnt, but you have to because that's part of the journey. That's part of the testimony, right? Um, but it has guided me to such a great place where now I feel like all the tests, all the hardships are part of what makes the little greenhouse what it is. Because now I know
Mm,
I can tell you. Now, all those people who have those same issues come to me and I know how to help you because guess who's been there?
mhm,
Me, I've been there. So
mhm.
it makes it a beautiful thing. It wasn't beautiful while I was going through it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, but I learned from it. And once you
Yeah,
realize that this is all everything you wanna do, hustling, mind being mindful of hustling, everything you
yeah,
wanna do has to have some kind of journey to it that's gonna make you have to
yeah.
learn something.
Yes, yes. I think like hardship and struggle deters a lot of people, but it's like if you want a journey and you want to do something, you have to welcome the full journey and experience of it. It's just like any relationship, friendship, romantic relationship, new craft and journey, like any type of thing that you do is going to come with a journey, and it's not always going to be easy. It's not supposed to be.
Look at nature, in nature, they say, "Oh, the balance of nature." Okay, well, guess what?
Yes,
Lion does kill the
yes,
deer, right?
yes.
And the antelope because it has to balance it out. If it doesn't, then you have too many of these, right? So it's the balance of nature. You're gonna have a bad day. Somebody's gonna have a bad day. He's not gonna kill all of them. He is only gonna take what he needs. It's the balance. So understand that even when you're having a bad day, just know in order for your life to be balanced, you're eventually gonna have a good day.
Mm,
If you're having just
that part.
right,
That part.
and if you
Yes.
realize you're totally having too many bad days, then something is wrong. There's an imbalance somewhere in your life that you're gonna
Mhm.
need to fix. And the same goes for too many good days too. When you're like, wait a second,
Mhm.
every day is just a good day. Like no learning is happening if every day is a good day. No learning is happening.
Yes,
You need
yes.
bad
I think
days.
you know what's funny? I think I went through a period of time where because I didn't wanna focus so hard on the bad days, like, this is, like, years ago. I can remember having this mindset in grad school. I think I was just so locked in on whatever I was doing. I get, like, very tunnel vision. But Brandon, my husband, he said to me, like, I don't think you're processing your feelings all the time. Like you're compartmentalizing and almost too well. Like, yes, it's a good skill set to have, but at the same time, you need to stop, you need to process, and it's okay if it's a bad day. And now my mindset really is, like you said, that of nature, where you're supposed to have bad days. And I tell all my clients too, because sometimes they come and they think something is really, really wrong. And it's like, but you just went through this crappy experience. You're supposed to have bad days and a full range of emotion. We're human. We're meant to have all of these emotions and to feel all of them. Nothing is wrong with them. But you definitely want to know that there's a balance. You're not always going to have all bad days. You're not always going to have all good days.
Oh,
Expect
absolutely.
that.
And I definitely start even now. I'm like, oh, I had a bad day. That means a good day's on the horizon. Let's go.
See how that works? It's like change your perspective, right?
Thank you.
Glass half, what is the glass half filled?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. But the same way, if you also
Yeah.
know that you're having a lot of great days and you're like, just, like, okay, I'm just gonna embrace because I know something will happen. It could be little, it could be big, whatever it is, it's gonna happen. And on the flip side, it's gonna have to be great again. So it's just balance.
Yes.
It's what life is. It's a part of being alive. And it's a gift to be alive, to be here, to share. So take the pros with the cons. It's kind of like that.
The message that I needed. Thank you for that. Thank you for just always just being you, just sharing your light and your energy. I mean, to just know you is just to just grow, really, because every time I talk to you, every time I see you, it's just I learn so much from you. So thank you for just being you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being you as well. And us having the same synergy and energy going on there.
Yes. And last question, what does hustle mindfully mean to you?
Well, it's everything I just said earlier. It's really being mindful about what you choose to do, that in your mind is where you create, right? Because hustle is just a way of life. It's doing, right? So be mindful about what you do, right? And if you're being intentional about what you do. I'm intentional about the spaces that I'm in. I don't go to spaces that I don't like or don't care about
Mhm.
because not I'm not learning, I'm not growing. Well, I'm learning something, but I'm not growing in the ways that I want to grow in, right? So I'm mindful and intentional about the spaces that I'm in I'm mindful and intentional about the things I do and what I don't even watch TV. So I'm mindful and intentional about everything. And then as a result, I get to create my creations are not tainted by what I'm seeing in other
Mhm.
people's creations. When they're not tainted as much, right, I'm able to hustle in a way and make it happen. So I'm able to become like a designer and become a owner of a fashion house and become an
Mhm.
educational entrepreneur and consistently keep creating and having all these things happen because I know my mind is my biggest asset. When I'm mindful that it is the biggest asset, I'm able to create and move in a way that makes those things happen. So for me, that's hustling mindfully. And that's why this program is such a great program. I'm going to tell you that. It's such a great program. Very thoughtful too.
So much. And where can people find you? Where can people find the Little Greenhouse and Girls of Decision? Where can they connect?
Well, you can find a whole lot of stuff when you get to this particular place, and that's at www.learnlivegreen.com. So there you will find not only Girls of Decision, you'll find my podcast, which is called the 5 Minute HSE Prep, right? To help those who are trying to go back to high school, or I should say, get their high school diploma. You'll also find my school, Second Chance Scholars Academy, for those who can't take that GED. It's just too much for them. They get to go to an alternative school. Your Little Greenhouse
Hmm.
Educational Services is also there on that website where you will find your services if you need parental engagement, if you want to understand the laws in special education better, if you want to get your child academic coaching, if you want me to come and talk at your school and help do workshops, presentations, all types of things, anything special education and law in education, you will find on that website. So www.learnlivegreen.com. And you can also find me on Instagram on the Little Greenhouse. And, those are the main spaces you'll find me there. And I'm very active. So if you reach out, I will reach out back.
Nashima, I love you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. I love you too. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode and you don't want to miss another, make sure you subscribe.